Our life today is completely digital, revolves around data, and data is the new oil. All these are almost cliched terms today. However, it's important to put this in perspective because the topic that we're going to discuss today is all centered around all of this, the infrastructure that drives all this data economy or the internet economy that we talk about. And why is it important in the context of real estate? That is something we wish to understand today. Data centers are the fuel for growth of local real estate ecosystem, and it's not only local real estate ecosystem, it generates a whole lot of secondary employment opportunities. It kind of builds a city or a small city ecosystem of its own. To put it in perspective, India, while it's growing fast in terms of a hub for global data center operations, we still are far behind. We have about 150 odd data centers today, as per latest stats, while the US alone has more than 5,000 of them. So that's the journey we are likely to go through. And once we go through this journey, we'll see a profound impact happening on the local cities, local towns, and local real estate ecosystem around this. Namaskar, I'm Prasoon Kumar, and you're watching this new episode of The Property Show on MBTV, world's largest real estate online channel. Let me start with introduction of our stellar panel. Today in the panel, I have got Mr. Anuj Goyal, who is chairman of Goyal Ganga Group, which is one of the largest real estate developers based out of Maharashtra, interest in Pune, Mumbai, Nagpur, and many more cities. We have got Mr. Zafir Ahmed, who is managing director at XRE Consultants. They are a real estate advisory company. We have Mr. Shashi Bhushan, who is chairman of Stellar Innovations and a technocrat. Stellar has been serving some of the biggest names in US title and mortgage industry. We have got Mr. Angad Bedi, who is managing director at BCD Group, which is again one of the largest and oldest realty conglomerates. And we have Mr. Shesh Rao Paplikar, who is founder and CEO of Beehive Group, which are one of the Bengaluru's largest managed office space providers. Well, so with this stellar panel, let's start having this conversation. Let me start with you, Anuj. Data centers, as it is, while it's the buzzword, people understand that this is something which is the latest in the story of IT and ITES that India has. But how and why is it important for a local economy?
So data center is definitely shaping the future of infrastructure. While data center comes and it's the requirement right now. So like rightly mentioned by you, we are from Maharashtra. We are from Pune, a 45 years old company. We are seeing the paradigm shift in the infrastructure while IT parks coming here in and around Maharashtra. What happens is when there is an IT park, there is a job requirement. Along with the job requirements, there is a need of housing. There is need of housing. There is need of commercial space. Malls keep coming, keep adding. So with data center and IT parks, you see a lot of these real estate in and around field of real estate, that requirements also keep adding on. So for real estate, people think it's only about housing or commercial building. So all the other factors which are related and connected to real estate, like school, colleges, all these infrastructure also gets developed at the same time. And we are seeing this growth rapidly happening in India, while a lot of these new data centers are coming here in Maharashtra.
Okay. Zafir, let me come to you. Data centers, while are important, as we understood from an overall ecosystem development point of view as well, they are also important for the overall data sovereignty of a country, right? And when you look at it, the strategic importance of these, and therefore the further role that they play in furthering the local economy. How do you read the importance of data centers then in Indian context?
Thank you so much, first of all, for having me in this esteemed panel. Pleasure being here. As you rightly said, data centers are is a very strongly positioned to become global leader data center market in India, driven by the massive, rapidly growing digital economy in India. The mixture of driving supports from government policies, significant investment from domestic and international players supporting the growth of data center.
Okay. Shashi, let me come to you. Uh, you have seen also the US market very closely because you've been servicing clients over there. The impact of data centers over there. What is it that you think will kind of benefit India as data centers expand in India? How have you seen the US ecosystem getting impacted, and therefore it's likely impacted India?
First of all, thank you, MBTV, for inviting me on this show. As you mentioned, that our core job is to support US real estate, and we have seen a significant growth from last 10 years of what data center has brought to the US market. I do see there is a big opportunity in the Indian market to, like as you said, that 150 data centers today, and we are way behind. There are 5,000 plus data centers in US. There's a huge market for India. I remember Anuj was mentioning about that there is a lot of industries which grows around if we create an infrastructure like data centers. So I do feel that India, because it is a very growing market, and the way Indian users, internet users are growing. Like I don't remember what Zahid said, but as per me, we are close to 1.4 billion people. Out of 1.4 billion people, almost a billion people are using internet. Imagine the data which has been accessed by this billion people. There is a requirement of processing center. There is a requirement of storage center, and that brings a big opportunity for India. So I feel that the data centers would be a big game changer for the Indian market in coming future.
Okay. Shesh, let me just take that to you. In what ways you think data centers will be a game changer?
So basically, from a data centers point of view, I think we are all been moving towards a digital way of life from some time, right? I think many of the panelists have mentioned this. OTT is something that literally is probably touching literally every Indian. Even at a security guard I see, or even in villages, from reels to maybe reels are touching even more, right? To sab jagah. Right, so I think even videos are being watched by kids, etc. I think so all of that ultimately is stored somewhere, right? From there to, like, email, etc. was the earlier evolution that happened. And analytics and AI is also becoming very strong, because of which now every company, right? Definitely I can speak about my own company, and now I can extrapolate everybody who's here in their own company. Lot of data logs of what's happening in their own company, etc. start getting logged somewhere, because eventually the key decision makers need a lot of analytics on it. And even GPT today is going to drive a lot of analytics. Today, a lot of times we do it ourselves. What we realize is it's so important to now start having logs, because a lot of powerful tools and AI is coming, which is empowering business decision makers to make decisions. So now we are like storing like tons of data everywhere, and this is how the future is going to be. And because of which data centers have become very crucial. And I think in a journey earlier, a lot of these data centers have happened in a different country, right? Like places like Singapore, etc., have been hosting it. US, obviously. And one is, it's important, Prasun, that you mentioned, data sovereignty is very important for the country. And I think there has been a push from a couple of years already that important critical data of our country, first of all, is there in India, right? India is one of the major economy in the world. It's a world power. We cannot afford to be held to ransom for various aspects of what happens, right? And there is certain level of control that our government needs on various things. So this push has been important. And I think the first set has always obviously gone towards places like Mumbai, but I'm really glad that now this is going to spread across. The government has very clearly recognized and pushing for policies of this going towards the other tier one as well, right? It's like Mumbai that has been dominating on this to an extent. Now other tier ones as well, and from there how it goes to tier two. And I think I wouldn't want to repeat. I think a data center is very important. aspect, that goes to smaller towns, the kind of employees it can bring in, and the further infrastructure you need. The government has, it's not just saying, yeah, hum clearance de denge. There's so much other infrastructure push that is required. And a lot of that infrastructure, from electricity, renewable power, to eventually leading to schools and other things, is also going to make these cities even more important. And tomorrow, imagine multiple key Indian cities having data centers. A lot of GCCs are also more likely to go to those cities also now, right? There is an effect towards many different things, and then it becomes even more feasible to have better schools and better hotels and many other things, infrastructure. I think there is a collective positive impact, and this is a huge positive direction. Whole world is moving towards it, and India has to grab this opportunity and push for a lot more data centers for serving our own country and also serving global needs, right? Both have to be pushed.
Okay, Angad, your opening comments about the importance of data center in Indian context.
Good afternoon, everybody. I think all my esteemed panelists have kind of covered and given the right perspective. So just to back it up with a little bit of data to collaborate the growth story of data centers, as we know that 2019 to 24 was a $60 billion industry of data centers, is suddenly planning to move into $100 billion over the next half a decade. That means it's going to, in a straight period of time, going to go into 100x or a 2x multiple percent increase of the one business sector in itself. And to put it in a smaller sense of things, India itself is a 130 billion population, which has towards over the last decade, with the digitization of the mobile phones, the UPIs, everything coming in on towards the digital and the seamless way of operations. I think they can, if the doctors would have it, they would say the phone is a part of the body now. That's a new medical analogy which the world is moving. I think one can
That's nicely put.
have a mobile which you feel like as much as important you wearing your shirt today. So you could go off without your shirt, but the mobile is always in the hand. Having said that, the engagement towards the interface of IT, technology, and human interface, which was earlier over a period of decade and 2 decade back, more about a one-on-one interaction about people, about business, which was on towards a paper-centric society. It was all about hard copies, has totally moved towards the silent form of communication. We are all living in a multiverse. Earlier, we were able to, communicate with one person at one point of time, but, WhatsApp has led to that we are extending our mind into a 500 people or a 400 people outreach simultaneously while sitting with the person in front. So all of this, in fact, is going to be led with an IT, technology, the power, the infrastructure to back all of this up. And in the natural way of change of life, this whole sector is going to be just an unstoppable force, which basically our panelists, not to be repetitive on that, are going to be seeing what we call as the synergic growth of the entire ecosystem, which then gets further opportunities and has already been laid out before.
Okay. All right, Anuj, while data centers are important and everyone is emphasizing on the importance of it from a growth perspective, how ready are we really? I mean, I want to hear a developer's perspective on this. Data centers require a lot of infrastructure of its own, right from electricity to the ecosystem that supports it. There's a whole lot of requirement that is there, and data centers are not normal buildings. They're designed in a different way, so there are a whole lot of things which are involved there. How ready are we today, how equipped are we today to really have the kind of expansion that we are talking about?
So I firmly believe that we are not completely ready, but it's not bad. It's growing, it's developing with the current government, especially when when you need the infrastructure like road, power, internet, everything. So it's growing, it's getting better, and I think we are there. It's not really like we'll have to start from scratch. It is the roads are getting developed, or airports is in most of the cities, the tier 2 cities also, if you see a lot of tier 2 cities also, where government is concentrating to get your air connections, your roads, infrastructure, internet is reaching right till the villages. So infrastructure wise, if you ask me, it is getting better, and we are kind of ready to uh, get more data centers in India.
Shashi, tell me from what is the kind of infra, as Anuj is saying that probably we are not 100% there in terms of readiness, but we are reaching there. What is it that you think that we do lack as capability at this point of time that we need to be quickly building up?
So I do agree with Anuj, but the good thing is India has a basic infrastructure. Like, for example, access to internet is there to the remote village today. So the government has done a tremendous job in terms of making sure that the electricity is available, the internet lines are available. So there is a quite a few work has been done, and there are a lot of work is happening. So I am very optimistic in couple of years, and it is changing very fast. So I'm very optimistic in couple of years. I think we will have the all required infrastructure to make sure that not even tier 2, tier 3 and tier 4 cities should be capable of hosting the data center in those cities.
Okay. Shesh, you made a point about how the initial phase of data centers were centered in and around Mumbai, and now they're expanding to other cities, right? Uh, from your perspective, which all tier one cities do you see where there is still land available, where there is still a scope for building large scale GCCs and growing them further, or are tier one towns really saturated?
As far as data centers concerned, I think one is, of course, there has to be stronger push to go towards tier 2 as well. I think be it Pune, Bangalore, Hyderabad, etc. They themselves still have scope. By the way, I think we will see a lot more expansions here, and I think the tier 2, one of the advantages they bring is the real estate cost is definitely cheaper than tier 1, but they have to translate to into real benefit for the companies that are setting it up. That's why the clearances are very important, and the electricity availability. There are a lot of other things that has to be done in a right way. Because many times I would say, if we look beyond data centers, right, from an office space perspective, a lot of times when we have, for example, to setting up a co-working space itself, a lot of times we realize it's not cheaper to set up in smaller towns because many times quality buildings are not available, and very, a security housekeeping will be surprised sometimes actually higher in tier 2 because the whole supply chain is not built properly, right? And power situations may also be different. So those challenges have definitely existed when it comes to in the commercial real estate itself. A lot of these policies are important because overall land is definitely cheaper. I think that's one thing that one can, if you want to buy land in
So while we come to tier 2 towns in a while, in tier 1 towns, aside to say a Hyderabad or a Bengaluru to an extent is also now, while expanding geographically, but in a way, lot many ways it's saturated, per se. How much of a scope do you see still tier 1 towns holding for expansion of GCCs?
My own belief is that so wherever we have seen the most obvious and easier expansions are in the cities that have already seen good growth in IT, etc., because of talent availability, and there is a reason why people have gone there. And many of the decision making companies are, again, this is how they are going to start. Is the airport there, and my company is already there, and are we already familiar working in these places, right? Which is obviously NCR, Pune, the top 6 cities. There are 6 cities of India which actually represents more than 80% of India's office space. By the way, I do believe that within this, there is not all of them are equally taken up the data centers today. And also I think the internet connectivity is not, obviously, in when it comes to internet, right, the ones who are closer to sea have that advantage. So these that is one change where Mumbai, etc., kind of wins in, right? And of course, today among tier 1, if I really want to say, Calcutta kind of is there as a tier 1, but for historical reasons have never become a major office space player. There may be labor, there may be various issues. I don't know the details of it, but I do believe that the same reasons will hinder it. If an office space is not growing very strongly, the data center may have similar challenges that are coming in. But every city that is doing well, if I would say NCR, Mumbai, and Bangalore, say like Pune, Chennai, Hyderabad, these have definitely significant rooms for data center growth.
Angad, are you equally bullish on the opportunities that Tier 1 towns still offer in terms of large scale GCC growth? Or you think it's now essential for us to look beyond Tier 1 as well?
I think the way horizontal development has happened in MMR, NCR, Bangalore, and to some extent Chennai, and as well as Calcutta and other places, there is a large land parcel which is still untapped, and it is going to be developed along with the periphery of these cities. As we have seen, Mumbai, Delhi, from being a small city, has become a state in itself, with the connectivity from Noida, Gurgaon, going to Greater Noida, going to Manesar, and today things are going to Neemrana. I think from the core point of the center points of these capitals, including Bangalore, which is today witnessing a more horizontal growth rather than a vertical push, we see untouched land parcels being able to get effective load, power, and infra connectivity from the center, which will propel a lot of development, more of GCC data centers, where today it is an organized system of the grids, power connectivity, and already catering to almost 10 million to 25 million to almost 3 to 5 crore people in a centric mini state. Wherein, when you go to a tier 2, tier 3, I feel it is about half a decade away for it to catch up, and these areas are exhaustive. So, in summary of it, I feel that we will see continuous growth of GCC within these cities itself as the moment. And we see tier 2, at least for these sort of what we call as ahead of its time capability set of assets, catching up there.
Zafir, when you are advising your clients, where do you see interest coming from? Are they still limited to the Bengalurus, Hyderabad's, and NCRs of the world, or do you think clients are increasingly also looking at opportunities beyond these?
The demand for data centers maybe coming the tier 2 cities as well. Why? Because I would let because of the affordability of the land, and the power availability is still good in few of the tier 2 cities. And because some tier 2 cities offer some incentives also to the data centers, like for example, as rightly said by I think Anuj, the Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, and other places offer the incentives to these data centers. And few of the tier 2 cities like Kochi, because of subsea cables available, Vizag because of sea board IT corridor, and Lucknow being the centrally located location in India. So we get the demand for these locations also. When we come to the other parts of the real estate assets, for example, office and warehousing, then tier 1 cities is obviously the favorable cities. But in terms of logistics infrastructure also, people are looking beyond tier 2 to tier 1 cities, Lucknow, Jaipur, Kanpur, and all these locations, Ambala locations, all these locations are very favorable for the logistics point of view.
Okay. Anuj, I wanted to understand strategically, a bit, looking at tier 2 towns as strategic investment opportunities from a GCC expansion growth point of view, because tier 1 towns, a lot of tier 1 towns in India have their own kind of growth ecosystem, growth story. Bengaluru is because of IT and ITES. Hyderabad has been because of a whole lot of animation, IT, and pharma and equivalent corridor. There have been different stories, for each of the cities. Do you think strategically it's important for us as a country to go beyond tier 1s and develop a lot of these tier 2 towns, maybe seaside tier 2 towns like Kochi, like Vizag, and Puri, there are a whole lot of which are available because of huge coastline that we have. Is it important to strategically develop them rather than expanding the existing metros themselves?
Well, of course, it is important. Why is because see, there's a different requirement of different company. Now there will be still a rising requirement and demand for tier one cities where there is infrastructure, where airports are there, your road and connectivity and all ecosystem is already developed. While having that, there are different companies who's having different demand. So I mean, when I say that, there is also the rent involved, your requirement for your people working there, your overall ecosystem, but you have your own rental that you can afford and your demands for different things. So it is definitely very important. Now tier one cities rentals have gone far over the top. Like cities like Pune, your rental is nothing less than $1 in Pune. If you see where in east or west, wherever you go. Now tier two cities, like if you consider Bombay, Bombay is definitely not very affordable for any new IT company to come and start their company or take a space. While saying that, they would still go for it because it's already developed. Moving there, you see there is a complete paradigm shift where Navi Mumbai is seeing so many data centers coming up, and they are already occupied. There's a lot of projects on the pipeline. While we have the biggest airport coming up there, to other townhouses scheme to rental homes, everything is affordable. So it's definitely important for us to move towards tier two cities with the demand and supply chain what we see in current market today.
Okay. Uh, One of the things that has been spoken about, the potential for tier two cities to grow is obviously the cost aspect of it, right? So it's not only land which is cheaper. You have probably cheaper manpower availability over there. You have a whole lot of things that play out from a cost point of view. Though Shesh was making a very interesting point that a lot of these things are not necessarily cheaper because the ecosystem is not developed. But hypothetically, if you just look at it logically, it should sound that these cities should come cheap in terms of setting a lot of these things up. I wanted to understand how much of an action are you seeing from a policy point of view by different state governments to really push the growth of GCCs in and around their territories and develop some of them. Are there such initiatives on the horizon, on the anvil that are likely to develop some of these tier two cities? Shashi, your point of view?
I do. There is a lot of effort. I think the government is taking, especially if I can name some Indore, Vizag, in Karnataka, Tumkur. There are some cities has been constantly working and developing them. I also feel that apart from the government initiative, there is also I see the talent pool is getting available. I would sometimes it's blessing in disguise. Like when COVID era came, a lot of people moved to their hometown, and those talent pool who used to live in in these cities, the tier one cities, they've actually gone back to their hometown, and that has actually built a very good talent pool in those cities. So I do see that we moving from tier one to tier two is not going to be a big challenge. Apart from the infrastructure side, I think the rentals are good in those cities. It is good for the business. So I do see that there should be effort to explore the tier two cities for sure.
Add a point to what just Shashi said. Because of these infrastructural improvement in terms of road connectivity, in terms of upcoming airports in different tier two cities, it is very easy to move from tier one to tier two cities, right?
Digitization in India has been quite democratic in a way, right? And it's not been limited to or confined to only tier one towns or big cities, etc. The penetration of digital economy, the penetration of digital ecosystem, consumption is really down to village level today, right? So if that be so, then don't tier 2 towns present a far more lucrative proposition from a GCC setup point of view than tier 1 towns?
It's a paradox in my own two statements. The first time when I spoke, I said that India is 130 billion people, and that throws, and then we have seen that digitization with the UPIs has gone to the level of farmers. Today, the amount of mobile phones which are in India are at the global high level of any country having them. Today, we have seen the efficiency of mobile phones from a laborer's hands to the agriculturist's hands, and the usage of them from using for booking their train tickets to opening a Jan Dhan account to making wire transfers to the family through the online banking account systems, even if they come into the tier one and work there and send it back to their hometown back in the place. Yet, what we feel is, though the cost is higher at the point of a Bombay or a Pune or any other things, the infrastructure available today at the moment for a GCC to be efficiently set up, utilized, and filled up is far more available and easier to make. Till a point, the infrastructure of tier 2, tier 3 is going to catch up to be able to service to it. Yes, we will see some of one, two, three, four sporadic, centers being made, but in an organized manner that every state government, every micro capital, and we are talking about, say, cities like Raipur, Lucknow, Chhattisgarh, as a state capital, your Indore, and all of these upcoming cities, which are as much as a competitive micro market than a city of Jaipur or a Bangalore or a Pune, seeing the rise of what we say is the affordable segment of PMAY scheme of homes, they are seeing a housing market rise. They are seeing a lot of infrastructure of road as well as larger land development master plans being done out. But the specific capability set could be a few years away, but ultimately it is bound to happen that each state is going to be having its own domain rather than be looking to get these services catered from the tier 1 cities. So the beginning of it was my point in terms of now or half a decade away. But the ultimate growth and the way it is going to pan out is, yes, we see that each state policy, each chief minister, each localized person would want to have its own in-house capability sets with sort of power infra of being self-reliant and not having it be taking it from a center or another state or another location. They want to build their own ecosystem and micro market to avoid migration of talent which is coming in from all of these cities and then making actually all of the Bangalore, Pune, Hyderabad story a robust story.
Does setting up of data center economic zones, in various places, is that going to be a game changer? Is that something that industry needs, wants for smooth development of data centers and GCC capabilities? Because in an economic zone, there are a whole lot of things which are a single window approval things. There are a whole lot of things which become little easy in fries already kind of built and given. Anuj, do you think the idea of data center economic zones is a good idea, and we should be exploring such ideas across throughout the country?
Yes, of course. Like I mentioned, that while getting a data center is not just the block or the building that we are getting, it adds on value to getting more and more other avenues of business and real estate growth, like housing and commercial activities, your malls, your school, colleges, hospital, everything. And it does help you to get all the roads and infrastructure or airport and everything. So of course, it is definitely going to be helpful towards developing the city.
Okay. I wanted to also touch upon a technical aspect of it. We are a country blessed with so much of natural energy resources, and data centers are energy guzzlers. At the end of the day, they require immense amount of energy. They have kind of endless capacity to consume energy, and especially in the world of AI, where every chat GPT prompt consumes so much of energy for responses to be generated. Now, us being blessed, therefore, in that sense, do you think there is a role for sustainability kind of a concept also in data centers, and usage of non-conventional energy resources is probably what can also be one of the game changers as far as India is concerned, because one of the pet projects of the government also has been the solar energy and the renewable energy push that has been there. Do you think there is a story that can play out in the growth of GCCs and data centers? Let me start with you, Shesh.
This is a very good point. As a policy, I think the central government is pushing towards sustainable energy, be it solar and other renewable energy. I think that is important, and I think the opportunity it presents us, a lot of us who are into real estate, who are in this panel as well. We don't have, especially when you look at a tier 2, right? I think what it lacks today is, if you want a LEED certified office building in a smaller town today, it's not easy to get. And I think that represents the opportunity. And when it comes to data centers as well, I think creating this infrastructure is very much required to create buildings that are green certified. How these buildings can have renewable energy, etc. That infrastructure requirement is going to be huge, and that's a very big opportunity. I think data centers work slightly differently, where a lot of times, a lot of developers and real estate players can be backed by contracts that are somewhere being pushed because of the government push in terms of clearances and land allotments and various aspects. I think if done well with a coordination from government, it can lead to significantly good infrastructure creation in tier 2. And also I would add that, see, compared to a high-end IT service, a lot of times, if you traditionally see, it has always been easier to set up, let's say, manufacturing in a tier 2, right? And I do see that this is somewhere in between. It is compared to, let's say, would you expect Google to have its R&D center in a tier 2? It may be tougher to imagine, but for Google to have a data center in a tier 2 is easier to imagine. They may get hold of a land and work with some top developers to create the right infrastructure, etc. And definitely a Google, if they are setting up in tier 2, they'll come up with their own sustainability requirement. India has to push through its own electricity creation. And see, India is a tropical country in a place where so much at least sunlight is available. I think there is a lot more scope to push for solar energy, which is government is doing. I think all of these presents huge opportunities for us.
In the end, I just want to understand what is it that will stop us, for example, from becoming the data center hub of the world. What are some of the challenges that are there that we must work, or think about? Let me start with you, Zafir. What are the challenges you think that we have as a country which we must overcome if we have to really become a data center hub of the world?
So, the challenges remains the same. What I mean to say is, the availability of the land at the right place at the right price. Secondly, the infrastructural, the kind of approvals which has to be given, because it is all there on the paper, but the execution is very, very difficult, as I can say, because I am working as a consultant.
Okay. Anuj, your perspective on the challenges that are there actually.
So adding to Zafir is only in one line that we need a stable government. Unless we don't have a stable government, policies keep changing. And with the policy change, it's very difficult to have everything on a single page. So basically, what happens is, unless a stable government, you don't have a blueprint. And without a blueprint, everything is not so organized, and then the development stops. Is as simple as that.
Okay, so you seek a lot of policy level ease over there, and there should be consistency in terms of policy. Shashi, your point of view?
First of all, as Anuj said, we need a stable government. We need government to ease out a lot of policies or a lot of obstacles for you to set up. Like there should be like special economy zone. Some benefits were given. Those kind of benefits should be given. I also feel that there should be a private investor to be invited to invest, because we need to encourage more investment in this era, and that opportunity is very big. So I'm sure there are many investors who are ready to invest into it. But of course, because of the government policies, this may get pushed. So again, I go back to both Anuj and Zafir's point that we need to make sure that it's a seamless implementation, seamless approvals.
Last word from you, Shesh. Policy level challenges, execution level challenges, anything else?
Policy level, I would say challenges means I'm glad that our union government, especially, I think, has the right vision. They are already ahead of curve, and they work on the policy level. Draft policies are there. Of course, they have to go towards implementation. And other thing is, definitely not every state government is same, but sometimes I'm glad that India has competition that way, between states. So some, always every state doesn't have the best CM or a most stable government, right? I think the opportunities keep switching between different states, but then that competition does exist, because of which I think at a state level as well, like the way I said office space, so there are 6 cities at least are always competing with each other. Now with the mix of tier 2, I think the right at the ground level, state governments also have to support, because just a union government policy is not going to help, because especially the land and real estate matters when it comes to it. Without key support from the local level, it's not going to happen. I think ground level execution and state governments having healthy competition with each other is going to be good. And also with the REITs today represents very small percentage, of very small percentage of India's real estate is owned through REIT at this stage.
Of them actually, yeah.
Right. And there is obviously there is something called SM REIT as well as a policy that has come in, and I think at the execution level, very few SM REITs have come out today. I think SM REITs can also empower a lot of developers, etc. A lot of real estate companies can, earmark specific projects itself as an SM REIT, right? The SM REIT is something which is should have a size of 50 to 499 crores. Regular REIT is of much larger size. Not all of us would be able to pull off a large REIT. So I think it's in the right direction, SM REIT as well. I think a lot of right organized capital, institutional capital coming into infrastructure play. And because a lot of times I think real estate players have seen uncertainty of capital availability, higher interest. I think that has always been a challenge as well for infrastructure development, especially when it comes to commercial, right? Residential works very differently, where I think you're trying to get in somebody, it's a B2C, right? You have enough demand, somebody's buying in, you can expand. But commercial needs a very different approach. You need a lot more certainty in terms of, you're going to build something. Eventually, you need to, your cash flow in future after completion has to be sorted. The financing through the period has to be sorted. I think a lot of these, but I think we are in the right direction. A lot more organized capital has to come in, and there has to be stability and prediction of capital for the real estate players to start creating this infrastructure.
So that's it, viewers. Data centers and global capability centers are something which our panel agrees that they are the growth drivers of not only real estate economy but the overall economy itself. It needs to be strategically thought through, planned well. There is a lot of scope still, as per our panel, in tier 1 towns, but tier 2 towns also present a very lucrative proposition to those who want to set up GCCs in India. We'll keep bringing you many such interesting insights and many such interesting conversations with our expert of panels. Keep watching MBTV and don't forget to like, share and comment.